Hi, I'm Tatum, and welcome to Mini Stories, the show where I make minis tell stories, make stories into minis, or just paint minis and tell stories. A few months ago, I turned the local legend of the One-Eyed Deer into a cryptid story and diorama, and since you guys seem to have loved it, and I had a ton of fun making it myself, I think it's time to make a cardboard tube. Okay, no. This tube will actually be the base for this cryptid diorama, this time inspired by the legend of Kokena, a small being that watches over animals in the hills and mountains. I carved this tube to create the general shape of my hillside, then used a foam cutter to carve a piece of XPS foam and fill the inside of the shape. Now this is not perfect by any means, so I'm going to fill it up, but before doing that I decided to take advantage of the fact that I was already wearing a mask and began burning the foam slightly with a lighter to give it more texture. Now it's time to fill the gaps, and for that I mixed some sand with... Oh no, not again. Seriously, what's wrong with this PVA? Okay, now that that's solved for today, I spread the mixture of PVA and sand over the edges of the diorama to seal the gaps, also doing it on the underside. This won't be visible, but I made more than I needed and wanted to seal the gaps beneath the piece too, just in case. And while that dries, it's time to make Kokena. For this I opened Blender and began sculpting. I took this model by Loot Studios as a base and added all the details I needed for this creature. There's a lot of depictions of Kokena on the internet. Some mention him as a half-human, half-beast creature with horns and fur, others as a gnome-like shepherd. Some say he has one woolen hand to pet the animals and one metallic hand to punish those who mistreat them. I based my own version of Kokena on this drawing by Esteban Quintana that I found while investigating local legends. I love how it's not really defined whether that's his face or just a mask, so I decided to incorporate that detail onto my own model, alongside with the clothes he's wearing. I also included the two different hands, a detail that caught my attention for its similarities with a different legend. Don't worry, narrator Tatum will tell you a bit more about it later. While the model prints, I'll continue working on the terrain. There's a lot to do with it, and I'll start by adding some rocky platforms. For this I used some epoxy putty, hitting it with a piece of bark to give it a really nice rocky texture. I'm not covering everything with it. I want the terrain to have variety and be interesting. But before I add more things, I'll do something I've always wanted to but have never done before. Lights. Now here you'll see me struggle with this tiny party lighty thingy, removing the LED, drilling a hole in my diorama for it, and disassembling a broken cable to get some wire to extend the connection. I've never done something like this before, and while it was challenging and pretty stressful, especially because I just improvised by using whatever I had at hand, it was really fun, and I'll probably do it again in the future. And now, tragedy. In my hype to continue working on this project, I forgot to hit the record button for the next step. So let me do a quick breakdown. I got a piece of a plastic tube I had lying around to have a better rim for the diorama, then added plant life using tufts and twine, and finally I broke off some branches from 3D printed trees for the campfire. I've done similar things in the past when working with terrain, so I'll put some of my other videos up in the corner where you can see me do it. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button that's down at the... right? Left? Where was this thing again? Anyway, hit that button if you want to see more, it really helps me. The good thing is, I did record the newest and most important part, the fire. For this, I started by experimenting with my hot glue gun on a piece of plastic, failed, and decided that was enough practice and went for the diorama. This was surprisingly fun and not as frustrating as I expected it to be. Yes, you have to be careful and patient to avoid stringing, but the result is more than good enough for me. But how do we avoid painting over this, I hear you ask? Oh my god, I should have done this after painting, right? Okay, let's not panic. I'll grab some blue tack that's not blue but still tacks, cover my flames, and hope I don't destroy them while removing it after painting. Of course, that means I'll forget to do it and remember right after I start painting. And with everything ready, it's finally time to paint, and time for narrator Tatum to tell us the tale of Kokena. Entry 26-CM-4.6R, Professor Pedro Valencia speaking. The following entries 4 to 6 were originally written by Agent Agnes Pereira and are currently being re-recorded for storage in the audio archive. 26-CM-4, Agent Agnes Pereira. I arrived at my current location around 4 hours ago, a secluded area in the Andes Mountains. More precisely, I'm located at the northeastern corner of La Rioja, in the lower portion of the mountain range usually called the Precordillera. I know this is far from my original research site in Catamarca, but I don't know exactly what I saw. That's why I decided to follow it. I started my investigation in Catamarca roughly 2 weeks ago, setting camp in the mountainside to look for the being called Coquena, also known as Shastai. A small humanoid taking care of the animals in the mountain, punishing those who mistreat them. It's not a great description. Any short farmer or any farmer's son helping with keeping the stock under vigilance while they go out to the mountains could very well fit the description, so I'm not sure this entity will be easy to find. All I can hope for is that the way its hands are described in some versions is accurate, a hand made of wool and the other made of metal. That would be easy to distinguish. If the more bestial descriptions of it turn out to be true though, I'll probably be more scared than fascinated. I first saw them 6 days ago. I was looking at the town down the valley as the sun went down. The weather was getting increasingly colder, but still far from unbearable. It was as the shadow covered the land except for the lights in the town's streets, shops and houses that I saw it. A tiny pinprick of light to my right, higher up in the mountain. In the darkness, it was extremely hard to discern what it was, even looking through my binoculars, so I picked up my notebook and a backpack with tools and supplies and started walking toward it. As I did though, the light seemed to move away, keeping its distance. It felt as if it was either fleeing from me or guiding me towards something else. I carefully followed it through the night, hoping it was leading me toward Coquena, or at least towards something else that might be of interest to the organization. Unfortunately, as the sun started to come out the next morning, it found me tired, frustrated and bruised from several bumps I'd gotten for trying to walk through the mountains in the middle of the night. The light had disappeared shortly before the morning, and all I could see around me were a couple llamas staring at me like I was some lost animal. I decided to go back to my camp, which was fortunately much faster and easier under the sunlight, and sleep until the evening, hoping the light would reappear. It did not disappoint me. The next night, I found the light exactly where it had been, just far enough to avoid my flashlight, but close enough for me to see it moving. I took my binoculars, staring at it for a moment through them before starting the chase, and it was then that I noticed the periodical flickering. A quick moment every couple seconds where the light went out for an instant before reappearing, barely noticeable in the distance. It was as if it was blinking. Could it be an eye? If it belonged to a creature, that would explain why it fled from me as I followed it. This time I was ready. With my tent and other things packed, I quickly started to follow the eye. Again, I ended up close to where I had lost it the previous night, but this time I didn't come back. I'd set up camp, rest until the next evening, hope the eye reappeared and follow it again. It was after 3 days that I noticed them. 3 more lights, probably from other creatures, surrounded me, following me as I chased my target. Only then did it hit me. I was walking through the darkness of the night in an open area where wild animals roamed. Some of them might even be dangerous, but I had never felt threatened. These things, as mysterious as they were, made me feel observed but safe. I'm writing this record after setting up camp for the day. I should have found more time to make records probably, but I wanted to be sure. Besides, something felt different this time. Somehow I feel like I've arrived exactly where they wanted me to be. 26-CM-5 Ancient Agnes. It's toying with me. They are toying with me. The eyes have appeared all around me for the last few nights, surrounding me, slowly getting closer, not guiding me anymore, but merely observing me. They're animals, I realized. I managed to get a glimpse of one as it got closer than the rest last night and confirmed it. It was a llama, nothing more, but the way its eyes glowed was unnatural. Still, for some reason, I don't feel threatened, I just feel frustrated. If this is the work of Coquena, then I can't help but describe the creature as childish. And thinking of its hands and how Specimen 35 El Duende shares the same characteristic, I'm starting to agree with some of the other Asians. Maybe Coquena and El Duende are the same. Yes, one takes care of animals while the other slaps kids who don't take their nap, but the stories around El Duende paint him as a mischievous, playful, short humanoid. And right now, I can say that fits Coquena as well. I don't think I'll get any more information though. I'll try to get closer to the animals tonight. If that fails, I'll just go back, log all of these and await further instructions. 26-CM-blank. Agent blank. He's watching me through them. He talks to me through them. He's coming. I will wait. That was the last of Agent Pereira's records found in the remains of her camp 13 days ago. No clues of Agnes's whereabouts have been discovered so far. Given the result of her investigation, we are closing our research on Specimen 26 until we discovered what happened to Agent Pereira. Please store all the records regarding the search of our agent under Archive 26A-LR. Thank you so much for watching! This diorama was super fun to work on, and I really wanted to expand upon the whole local cryptids idea after the Sacuape. Let me know in the comments below if you're interested in seeing more legends turned into dioramas, and don't forget to click like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more. I'll be back next time with more minis to paint and more stories to tell. Take care, and thanks for watching.